Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism had a 2 days amplified in-depth media conference and the 17th Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. The event was held at the Necker House, Ikeja. Journalists from all over Nigeria were present at the event. Our reporter has more.
The Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism rewarded journalists who have distinguished themselves in investigative journalism in Nigeria. The center urged awardees and other media practitioners in the country to be more investigative in their practice in order to hold the government accountable and tackle corruption.
The organizers of the award program, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, have a vision to contribute to stimulating the emergence of a Nigerian community, one that is defined by the ethics of inclusion, transparency, and accountability through the mechanism of investigative reporting.
There was a conversation of panelists in which the topic was undercover reporting, which the moderator was Moturayo Alaka, the executive director and CEO of Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Lagos. And the panelist and guest speaker was Anas Aremayo Anas, an undercover reporter and founder of Tiger Eye Foundation. The moderator said the conversation was important for people to see the prizes paid by those who won the award.
To disguise your personality 3 times in 1 year, does that do anything to you as an individual? Does it change you? I know one reporter was telling me, I lost my hearing because of an undercover report that I did, because there was so much noise where I was, and I was exposed to it for, said, so whenever there's a loud sound, said I hear a bang in my brain, just to tell one story. So we're asking, is it worth it? Is it worth it or is it not? At the same time, we have people who say, but for this story that you did.
Moturayo mentioned how one of the undercover report rescued someone from jail.
We met someone when we went for the conference in South Africa, who came to meet one of our award winners at the conference. The family member came to meet her, and they were celebrating her because their son would have died, in jail, but for our report. He had been in jail. They did not know where he was. They were looking for him, but our story kept following up on the situation until he got justice and he was released. And the family members came to welcome her in South Africa, saying, you saved our family. So, but we're asking those who go to the field, is it worth it? And so
Anna said the book said that journalists should inform, but he doesn't do that. He said he is not a conventional journalist.
I name shame and jail. The books say that we should inform as journalists. I don't do that. I am not your conventional journalist. I name, I shame, and jail. I'm a lawyer also. So I find myself wasting my time when I go undercover and I get the ingredients of the crime and I don't step up to testify in the court of law to ensure that the bad guys are jailed. I know that there are varied opinions of how journalism should be. But I consider myself being in a boxing ring, considering the kind of society we have today. I'm a product of the society. And I've always said that there's no point in doing undercover journalism if it does not progress society. So when I say you're a thief, I give you evidence and hardcore evidence of how you plotted to commit the crime, when you committed the crime. And I step forward in the court of law and I testify and the people get jailed. I'm not talking to you about journalism that I'm about to practice or an experiment. I'm talking to you about things that I have done and have seen palpable results.
He made mention of some of his undercover reports he has done and the perpetrators brought to book.
The Chinese sex mafia story in Ghana ended up with the perpetrators going to jail for 45 years. Nana Kwesi Agyeman's story, a man who raped girls as young as 3, went to jail for 15 years. When Ghana was under siege and our cocoa was being stolen and sold to neighboring countries, I went undercover, brought the evidence. The security officials were jailed for 18 years. MV Benjamin cocaine bust. Ricardo was jailed for 8 years. So I'm not here to tell you what I'm about to practice. I say I'm a product of the society. Once we have criminals in society and the criminals step up their game, we also step up our game. So the controversy comes that journalists must only inform. I say yes, but I can't afford to tell that story and be on the same street with that criminal. I don't believe in exclusivity. I believe in impact-oriented journalism. And so I see nothing wrong, absolutely wrong, to stand in the court of law and meet the law enforcement agencies halfway to testify and ensure that these bad guys are jailed. Some of my friends don't believe in it. They are entitled to their opinion. But I am saying that this is the kind of journalism I do, and I've always loved doing it.
And showed some documentaries of some of his undercover investigative reports.
How much?
Example, when they put you in a small cell, the heat can let you become sick or you can even die.
Jonas explained why journalists go into undercover and how journalists live in the society amongst the people. He also talked about his experience during the undercover investigation he does.
Travel, like my sister has already mentioned, would always remain a last resort. I am strictly guided by the BBC Ofcom rules, which establishes that before you go undercover, there must be prima facie evidence. And so, before I would say that a crime is being committed, I must be able to demonstrate that the person committed that crime yesterday and he's likely to commit that crime today and tomorrow. So the laws are pretty important, because if you don't go by the law, your evidence will not stand the test of time or will not stand the legal rigors. So we are not lawless. We always make sure that before we take that important step to pull the camera to film you, we would have gone through the necessary preparations, the necessary gathering of evidence, the necessary reconnaissance before we put our evidence together. But it is interesting that when we do undercover journalism in our countries, some people say it's unprofessional. Yet this same undercover journalism has been done, and we continue to do it for the BBC, the CNN, Al Jazeera, and many international networks. So there's a deficit of understanding of the work we do. And I think it's part of society. We grow and learn. We also see a lot of pushback from state and non-state actors, depending on the stories we do.
Journalists were given the award to also encourage them. The chairperson of the Judges Committee, Professor Abigail Ogwezi Ndisika, said the center has waxed stronger for development, using the case of Anas as an example. Also said most of the stories shows that the nation is just sloganeering and that change begins with us.
It was followed by a collation meeting held on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. After the rigorous selection process, the 2022 Judges Committee presented a list selected from 179 entries received. So we had quite a lot of entries, so it was a very stiff competition. And those ones met the criteria. So we had, actually they got 218 entries, but 179 met the criteria, and so those were the ones assessed. Print 46, online 97, television 10, radio 6, photo 13, and editorial cartoon 7. The journalists who made the list for the awards have, in the course of their duties, shown uncommon innovation and profundity, ethical journalistic courage, as we saw this evening from Anas, individual creativity, and public benefit in their reports on clandestine activities, public and corporate corruption, human rights violation, and or failure of regulatory agencies. Over the years, WSCIJ, through this award, is using the instrumentality of journalism to draw the attention of duty bearers on the need for the country to remain focused on deepening democracy, curtail the aggravated exposure to poverty, hunger, lack of access to education, limited health care services, inequalities between female and male persons, and other issues that have kept our nation having motion without movement.
Candidates for the award are from online TV, online newspaper, print TV, radio. From that, you have winners from Trust TV, New Telegraph, The Wheel, TV 360, Punch, and so on.
Congratulations.
The Area Award was given to Abiola Akiode Afolabi, Director, Women Advocate Research and Documentation Center, and also Stella Dean Jacob, Director of News TVC.
Thank you.
I'm not an orator. I don't know how to talk, but I know how to write. But what I can just say is when I was doing this story, I fell in love with it. You can see what the passion and anger to expose has actually achieved for me. I'm also happy that the panel of judges, they saw what I saw. Cost money.
Some journalists and awardees expressed their excitement and happiness. There was music and dance to celebrate it. Adenike Dada, reporting for MLC TV, Lagos, Nigeria.